Hello everyone, welcome to the part 17 of this tutorial. So in this video what we're gonna do is adding a Google Autocomplete feature for the address. So as you know right now, when I'm in my profile screen, I can click on your account setting, I can click on address, and now I can click on add address. I get to this screen. But the thing is, if I let the user enter stuff like that, like I have no kind of validation, and this is not gonna be the best way of doing it. So what I was thinking, it's about why not adding a Google Autocomplete. So what I want to do is when my user gonna open the screen, you're gonna click here. This gonna be a fake input. That's gonna, what I mean is this gonna be like kind of a button. So when you're gonna click on this stuff, that's gonna push him to the search address screen, where by default you're gonna already get auto focus to this input. And now when he type, you're gonna get always 5 location kind of result about where that can be. And I think that can be really great. So this way, user enter an address we get from Google. So we already know that's gonna be a real address. And now when we do this in the backend, the backend after that can do more validation and ask stuff like I don't know, like a UPS or whatever you want. And also another beauty of this, it's I really think this can help with the UX. So what I mean by that, we all know like typing it's kind of boring. So if you can just enter like just his address and click and that's it, I think that's gonna be good. So for doing this, we're gonna first start with installing a library. So the library is gonna be called React Native Google Autocomplete. Just make sure this is the version 0.1.5. So this library is the library I've created for doing a render props around the Google API. And this is what we're gonna do. So before going further, I would like you to go to your this website, developer Google documentation, launch console, create a brand new account, and you're gonna need to get an API for the Place SDK, Place API. I mean, and they have a really good example. It just now I cannot show because I have so many key and yeah, but I mean it's gonna be pretty simple. Just follow what they're gonna say in the documentation, and also if you search on Google, you're gonna find it. I'm one of the most bad person with documentation, and I find it really easy. So yeah, so this Google Autocomplete screen render props. It's a render props like that where you put your API key, and finally I give you back some props where you can use it in every kind of UI. And I think that's gonna be the way we're gonna handle this. So this thing is installed, that's perfect. So now what I want to do is, first thing, we're gonna create a new component, a new screen inside the screen folder, and we're gonna call that autocomplete address screen.js. This one, this autocomplete screen, we can finally just use a function. So what I mean by that, it's we can make use of this autocomplete address screen like that, and that can just be a function because the autocomplete is a render props, and render props have the state inside him, so you don't really need to have state inside your stuff. After that, here, just for testing that, I'm gonna just say hello, and I'm gonna say auto export default autocomplete screen like that. Now I will jump to my index.js inside my screen, and inside my address form stack, I'm gonna add address auto. I call that autocomplete address, so autocomplete address, and this thing It's gonna be like that, and now here we're gonna paste this. I think that's gonna be the same name, so autocomplete address screen. It should be good. And now I just want to test the screen. And for going there, what we need to do, if we want to push the user to the screen, it's we need to transform that as a button. So that's going to be pretty weird. I'm not happy with what I've done, but I think for now that's going to be good enough. And I think that can just fix some issue. So what I mean by that, it's when we look at the input, the input here, it's just a plain view who wrap a text input. Okay, that's why like you can type, but what I want is first I want to disable this one, and this one, and I want to say editable to be false. If you say editable to be false, to inconstant, oops, okay. So if I say editable to be false, you see I click, it's impossible to click to postal code, city, street address, but I can click on app and instruction. So finally you just say, hey, this one are not editable, so you cannot touch nothing. But now what I want, it's I want if I pass a onPress function, so I'm gonna say go to search or whatever you want to call this. So what I want, it's when I gonna pass a onPress function to my input, I want to make this input to now become a button. So the way we're gonna handle this, it's first here inside this input, I'm gonna add the value onPress I just passed, because if you don't get in from the destructuring like that, remember what I told you in the last video, that's gonna go inside the rest property, and now this onPress is gonna be pushed to this text input. Now after that, what I want to do, it's first I'm gonna create a variable called input, and this variable gonna just be this component finally, okay, just this value here. After that, I want to say if my onPress, or if the type of onPress equal a function, I'm gonna do something with this, else we're gonna return that, but here that's gonna be the input. So now I'm gonna just copy this stuff. So remember here, it's that mean we want to be able to click. So first thing, we're gonna import a touchable opacity. Here, I don't really want the opacity, but because we're gonna use position absolute and I don't gonna put any children, we don't gonna have any opacity. So that's gonna be pretty good. And also why I use the touchable opacity versus example without feedback, but because I don't want feedback, it's because without feedback gonna need a children, and I don't think it's something need here. So now I can take this touchable opacity, going here inside this one with the function, and pass it right there below. And now I'm gonna say onPress, it's equal to the onPress we pass. But now I want to put this touchable opacity position absolute. So what I mean, it's because it's after the input, remember what's gonna happen, it's because it's after the input, now this touchable opacity gonna become on top of the input. So now it's gonna be able to be clickable, because if you change the box to become a touchable opacity, what's gonna happen, it's gonna be impossible for you to click inside the input. You're gonna need to click like here where we have the border, so it's really bad. So now here I'm gonna create a new style, and I call that touchable surface because it's just the surface touchable. And this one here is gonna be really simple. So we start with a position absolute, top 0, right 0, left 0, and bottom 0. Finally, we just say take the full space of your first parent who is relative, and that's why we're gonna put this box to be relative. So now if I refresh my screen and I make a typo, I say right, but right, man. My English sometimes, this kind of word, I think it's one of the worst words. I always have a mistake here. So, and now if I click on this one, see, nothing happened. So what is the issue? So I pass on press to my input. My input get here with the type of on press. So one thing we're gonna check if it take the full space. So if my button will work, at least we're gonna see red on top. So we see we are able to click. Okay, so it worked finally. It worked. What happened is we don't do nothing. So here we want to push to the screen we have created at the beginning. So this autocomplete address. So you can use the navigation service or whatever. Here I'm gonna just use the props navigation we get because this address form is a screen. So this that props that navigation that navigate, and now I can push the autocomplete address. And now if I do this and I go back to my address and I click, we push to the other screen. Perfect. So now we can start to do some good stuff. So first one here, I want that to take the full space, and I want this to be white because this gray looks weird. And now here, what I want to do is to get my autocomplete component. So Google Autocomplete. So the way Google Autocomplete gonna work here, it's first we're gonna need to import your API key. So just import yours from your environment or whatever. And here what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna change this hello to become my Google Autocomplete. And here the Google Autocomplete gonna return some props. And I want to return a box. And now I'm gonna put my text hello here just to show you. So now this Google Autocomplete need to receive a API key who's gonna be equal to this Google API key. After that, inside that, here inside my box, I'm gonna use a React.fragment. We don't really need a box here. So React fragment means it's kind of it's a view, but without being a view. It's a div without being a div. What I mean by that, it's the fact that it don't exist in the DOM, so that let you having multiple children and not having to return always one children. After that here, I want to design this top input here. So the way I handle this is I've created first thing a box. We're gonna do this right there. I give him a height of 40. I want him to take the full space of width of 100%. I want him to take his children to be in the middle, and I want a margin top to be at the 10 because I don't want to touch the street the headers. After that, I put another box, and this box now gonna become this grayish thing. So that's why here I'm gonna put a BG of gray lighter. So the gray lighter, it's this F5, F5, F5. I want him to have a border radius of 6. I want him to take 90%, and I want him to take 90% also in the width, so 90% height, 90% width, and I want him to have a padding of 8. After that, I put a text input. But don't take the text input from the React Native gesture handler, take it from React Native. And here it's not radius, it's radius. Like that. After that, what I want to do, it's my text input. I'm gonna put a placeholder of search address, and I want my text input to take the full space of this box here, so I'm gonna just handle the style sheet and input flex1. So we're gonna just start with that, okay? Just to see the UI at least. So if I go here, you see we get there. That's perfect. So now we have a search input. First, I want to change the selection color to become the selection color of the app. So the green. After that, my text input also, I want him to auto focus. What I mean by that, it's I want when I click, because think about this, we want to fake like the input. So when the user click, we don't want him to click 2 times. So when he click, boom, now he can start to type. Now I want when I start to type here to change my Google Autocomplete stuff and getting my my location result. So the way that works, it's first, if we look here in the debugger and I look with my Google Autocomplete like that, here you're gonna see we're gonna get some location result and we're gonna get some input value and stuff like that. So the way I'm gonna work with that, it's we need to first change the value of the Google Autocomplete. So that's why here we get some props, and one of the props, it's called and the text change. So you pass it to your text input. So you say on change text, and you pass your and the text change. Just by doing this, if I refresh my screen and I go back to my debugger, you see here nothing happened in the screen because we don't do nothing, but inside my Google Autocomplete, now I have a location result where I get back the value. So behind the scene, the Google Autocomplete do the stuff, do the search and everything. So for make sure we control the input, I want to get the input value. Like that. What the heck? Like that, so input value. And also what I want to do now is to showing this search result. So here we're gonna have the location result. And also we're gonna have a is searching boolean, which finally a boolean will tell you, hey, I'm searching right now. After that, from React Native, I want to import a scroll view. We don't really need a flat list. Why here? It's because Google Autocomplete never gonna give you more than 5 items. So for me, I always go with flat list first if I have a really big amount of stuff, and also if I don't know how much stuff I'm gonna get. But if you told me, hey, I always gonna have 5 items, go with that. So what I'm gonna do now, it's below this. I want to do a kind of a conditional. So what I want to do is, if it's searching and I have no location result, so it's an array, so I can say that length. I want to show a box with height of 100%, width of 100%, and I want to center an activity indicator from React Native. So that's going to show a little loading. The activity indicator. For the color, we're going to go with the theme that color that green, and also I want him to be the biggest one. Else, I want to show a scroll view, and I think I get the scroll view. Oh, I'm lucky, I get it from React Native. And I want him to map the location result. So location result we can map. So map, because it's an array, where here we're gonna get a location. And now here I want to return something. So we want to return now each of this item. So for doing this, we're gonna create a new component called location item.js. So this location item is gonna be really simple. So first, that's gonna be a React component, and we're gonna call that location item. After that, we're gonna return a box, where here we're gonna have a width of 100%, and I want to have a border button. So I decided to go with border button width of just style sheet. I don't get in. Style sheet, and style sheet we have access to the line. Line width. Man, it's sometimes Visual Studio Code. So here you say, so this is defined to be the width of the thin line of the platform. So that's going to be the smaller width you can have. So on both Android and iOS. And for the color, we go with the color we get from the theme, that color, that gray light. After that, inside that, I'm gonna have another box where I want to get some padding top and bottom, so a padding of 10. And I want to show a text who's gonna come again from the designer utility. And this text gonna show a props called description. And how I'm gonna get this, we're gonna see in a moment. So location item now is gonna be the component we return here. So location item. So I should be able to import it. So from component location item. First thing, for the key, we can get them from location.id. And the rest, we're gonna spread the full location. So just for showing you, inside the location here, I'm gonna console log location props, like that. So now if I click here and I start to search, this is the props we get, and now we show this element. So you see we are able to show this element right there. So each location item receives this full prop. So if you ask how I get that, it's because when we map location result here, location object, we spread it to the prop. So that's why we get everything here. So the description, it's finding the address. So Buenos Aires, Argentina, and stuff like that. So this is the full props you receive from my component when you ask for the less detailed option. But you see here, the thing is, I don't want to use it because first, it's going to be really hard to get the element. Like I want to know what is the address, what is the country, what is the province, and you see we don't get a lot of stuff. But one of the things we really want to get is this place ID. So this place ID now gonna let us doing a big fetch detail where we can get the full information of this destination. So the place ID is really important to remember that. Another thing, I want to make my app only for Canada. For you, you can make it USA or whatever, where you live. But here I want to just make sure that that's gonna be just Canada, because right now when I type 22, I get some Argentina stuff. And the way to handle this, it's Google Autocomplete here. I can pass a component. and component I can pass a country, and I'm gonna say CA for Canada. If you are in France, it's FR, USA, I think it's US. And now the thing is, if I do this and I search 22, it's all Canada stuff. So you see Toronto and everything. So that was the same search, but now at least we make sure that that's gonna be Canada only. Now what I would like to do is to be able to get the detail I told you. And also another thing, it's maybe just to put some margin top here, because you see it's a bit too tight. Margin top of 10, and I'm gonna put that there. And now, how can we get the fetch detail? So we get the fetch detail again from the library here, fetch detail, and I'm gonna pass the fetch detail from the location item. So fetch detail equal fetch detail. Why I do this is because this one it's a stateless component, and you cannot really put method. And what I want to do is I want my location item to be smart enough to fetch the item. So the way we're gonna handle this, it's first we want to be able to let the user choosing one. So right now we cannot click. So first we want to transform this to be a button, so to be able to click. So just wrap this inside a touchable opacity, like that. After that, here I would like to have a function called handle press, who's going to be an async function because we're going to do a promise request, a fetch request. And now here we're going to have an onPress where we're going to call this function. So this handle press here, we're going to have a try catch where we're going to throw the error. And we're going to have a result here from the props that fetch detail we just pass. And this fetch detail here, the only thing you need is the place ID. You see here, I put it place ID, so you get this from place ID. So this is the prop I show you. And after that, I want to show the result, so we're gonna do like that to see the difference. If we go back to the debugger, let me make it a bit bigger. So now, if I click, so we see, so this is the location props, and now if I click on one of this is the result. So we have a difference right there already. And one of the differences we see is the address component, and we have also geometry. So geometry, we're gonna really need this because look here, we're gonna have the latitude and longitude of the location. But the thing we want is this address component. Look here, address component, they show a short and a long version of a type. So you see here, so here this first property, it's going to be the street number. If I click here, that's going to be the route. If I click here, this one we don't really need, but if I click here, that's going to be the city, so locality. After that here, this one, Ontario, it's going to be the administrative area level 1. So I figured out that was always the province. So it's all like the state in US and things like that. After that here we have the country. And finally at the end we have the postal code. So we can all use this to fill up stuff. So this is what we're gonna do. But first here I want to put the search address. So we can just say navigation option, and I can say title search address. So now at least that's gonna give us this search address here at the top. So this is how you can put static method if you use a stateless component. Perfect. So now as I search, I'm able to search, change the search. You see, like change everything. But now I want to get that back to my address form screen. So you see here, we navigate to the autocomplete address, but this is the screen where we show the input. So the way we handle this, it's first, we're gonna have a function called search address, where here I want to get an address back, a value back. This function, we're gonna pass it from a params. So we're gonna say search address equal this that search address. So now it's callback stuff, okay? So what I mean by that, it's we're gonna pass as a callback to another callback to another callback. So the go to search here, we're gonna push the navigate autocomplete address screen, and we get the search address. So the autocomplete address screen right there, now gonna receive some props. You have already props, but we didn't use it. And inside the props, we're gonna have navigation. Inside this navigation, now we want to pass to this location item the search address, and the way we handle this, it's navigation.get param, and now we can say search address. So hey, I want to pass to this property like that the param we get from we have inside the navigation. So now we have this search address to the location item, and now I'm gonna just call it right there, and I'm gonna pass the res. So for seeing if that work, we don't gonna set console log res, we're gonna set console log value, because I say value. Okay, so I hope that's gonna work. So if I click here, we get value. That's perfect. So now what that means is we get back to this screen here. So from this screen, we get to this screen, we push to this location item, and yes. So now the first thing we want to do here, it's one of the first thing we can do is first thing back. Navigation.go back. So we want to go back to the other screen, because right now we still stuck there, so that makes no sense for the user. So if I go there and now I click on this one, you see we back. So now we get the value. Now time to do some calculation for this. So that's gonna be the response we're gonna get, okay? Everything here. So we're gonna create a new file inside the util folder called build address.js. So this function build address is gonna be a function here we're gonna receive an addresses component. So we want to just send this address component. So address like that, yeah. So here finally we want to normalize that, because that don't make any sense and it's really hard to see, like 225, it's a string number and blah blah blah. So the way we handle this now is going to be a lot of JavaScript stuff. So I hope you are ready for this. So the first thing is I don't need the curly bracket. So I'm gonna say here I want to return the address that reduce. So we're gonna make use of the reduce because we want to pass from an array to an object, and I want to make sure that we have always the same value. So the way reduce work is you have the accumulator and the current value. The accumulator is the value you always change, so you go to the other loop index and everything. After that I want to start with an empty object. So now we're gonna start with really simple, with just the street number. So here we reduce, so now we're gonna have the current item is gonna be this one the first time. The way to make sure that that's gonna be this one, because maybe the index gonna change, we're gonna say if the current that type, why I say type is because this thing, it's an array. So we need to find, and I want to make sure that I can find the street number. So now I'm gonna just copy paste that. So I want to make sure that my element here, I can find the street number. Another way you can handle this, it's by using includes. And now here you just put the finally whatever you want. So include street number. So if we include here, now I'm gonna add to my accumulator, which by now it's just the empty object street. I want to add this current that long name. Because I'm always gonna use long name, what I want to do, it's I'm gonna create a variable here called value, and I'm gonna always say value here, and here it's street with a T. So if the current object have a street number string inside a type, I want to use a long name. So we're gonna always use a long name. So we build a street. Also, what we want, we also want the route. So same kind of logic. So include route, and now here I can say street because I want to add this to the street. I mean, yeah, I can just say route is gonna be more. I mean, no, I like more street. So the way I'm gonna handle this, it's I'm gonna append the value of this to my street. But the thing is, maybe not now, but sometime we don't have a street number because they put the number inside the route. So I'm gonna just check if we have already a street. If we have already a street, we're gonna append it to the value. So we have already. So finally we say if we have a street, so our example here right now is example 222. If I have already 222, I want to add the route to this, so that's going to be 222 space and the route name. But if we don't have it, I want my street to be the value like that. After that, we're gonna do to get the province. So if we look back, how to get the province is gonna be with the administrative area level 1. So same logic, current type that includes administrative level, and now I'm gonna say ACC province. So for accumulator province equal value. After that, I'm gonna just copy that, and I even think would be better to build that with a switch statement. So here after that, I'm gonna check if this is a country, and that's gonna be a country, and here I'm gonna do the same with postal code. Gonna transform that to postal code. So I just want to go faster. After that, if we have a city, not city, it's locality, I want to put that to my city because it makes more sense. You see, like we normalize, so we transform the data as we want. So I want this way. So, and finally, we need to make sure that we return the SEC. And one thing, I want to add the geometric. So the geometry, so that's gonna break up what I have. So just to make sure the address, so we're gonna have here a value, and I'm gonna change that to be value.address component, because I want to get this value to make sure then we can at the end of this do ACC.geo equal the geometry we have here, that location. So value.geometry that location. Yeah, so though, yeah, I think that's gonna work. Best way is to test it. So inside the search address, I'm gonna create an address with what we just built. So build address, and I just pass the value to him. And I'm gonna keep the value here, value, and I'm gonna console log the address, and I'm gonna pass the address we just built. I'm gonna try it. Okay, now we get cannot read property location of undefined. Geometry, that location. Did I make a typo? Value dot geometry. Location of undefined. So oh shit. That's why, you see, we kind of override the value we have here. So here I will change that to be, I don't know, like address. And now that's going to be address here. So I make a really bad type. I mean, here it's live coding, it's not even. So now if we get, and I click, we build an address and we have a city, country, postal code, province, street, and the geo. That's kind of what we want. Here, I just think about this. For sure, you can use a switch statement. I think you can do like, no, you cannot. I mean, you can surely change that another way, but yeah. So now, I'm here at the address. Now I need to fill this input. The way I'm gonna handle this, it's now my best new way of doing React with mobx, and I get this from a Medium post from Native, something like that, who did a really nice tutorial about how his company where he work use mobx for everything. So he finally ditched state for mobx, and I just really like it, the way that looks. So first thing, I'm gonna make an observer component here. And why that? It's because I'm gonna build observable value right there. What I mean by observable value, think about the observable value is gonna be the value gonna change like that was with the state. And you get the observable from the library mobx himself. So you say observable. So here I'm gonna say street name equal an empty string. After that, I'm gonna create another observable where I'm gonna say postal code equal an empty string. After that, I'm gonna have another observable who's gonna be city equal an empty string. So finally, if you look, is the value I have here I want to fill. And now, what I want to do is I'm gonna transform my search address to be an action that bound, because if you use bound, you don't need to bind it with the arrow function. It's gonna be bind by default. And why I use an action is because it's best practice to always change observable value with finally an action. And now here I can say this that street name equal address dot street, address dot street. After that, we can say this that province equal address dot province. After that, this that city equal address dot city. And also one thing I want to save is going to be the full address we just built. By default is going to be null. And now here I'm going to say this address equal the address we just built. Why I didn't just save the address and use this inside my input, just because I think it's cleaner this way. And for the input now I can just pass value. So I'm going to say this that street name value this that postal code and value this that city. So action, make sure this is coming from mobx, and also that's why we make use of a component. And now just to make sure everything is gonna work, here I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna console log this just to show you the value. I think I can do this. And also for the Medium post, I told you I'm gonna put this in the description. So first thing, we see that this here right now, we have address, city, and postal code and everything. So that's perfect. But now here, if I get an address, so I get this one. Now that this, you see first thing, we have changed the value. I don't know why we didn't change the postal code. I surely make a typo. So now you see, address is the full object we just built. We have the city, postal code. I think I just make a typo. We have the province. We have the street name. So I did province. Okay, it's not province. What we want here is postal code. And I did, yeah. Should be good now. Long video. I need some water, so that's gonna be finished after that. So now if I click, boom, we get there. And beauty of this is the user still can change his address. Nothing break. And now for the save, what you can just do, it's right now is disabled, and you can just say it's disabled when we don't have any address. Disabled when we have no address yet. So if I go there, if I have no address like that, and because right now I didn't style the button when it's not disabled, so I can say button. I'm gonna just take this. I don't need to change the border color, but for the background color, I'm gonna say green. And I'm gonna pass it right there. So that's my dog. Just to make sure everything works. You see it's disabled. And now user can click on this one. So I hope you enjoy. Again, the code's gonna be the repo, and the repo link is in the description. Let me know in the comment. Sorry for this long video, but that was a pain we need to build. And let me know if you like this way of doing the state change like that. And yes, we talk in the next one. Bye everyone.